Hello there, 6th grade champs! Time for some quick summaries to revise your chapters from Honeysuckle. Here are the chapters that we will be covering. So, let's get started. This chapter is a short story about a boy, Patrick, who disliked doing homework. Homework did not interest him at all, and his interest lay in playing hockey, basketball, and Nintendo. His teachers warned him to complete his homework so that he does not become ignorant. Even Patrick sometimes felt ignorant, but didn't do anything about it because he hated homework so much. One day, he found his cat playing with a little doll. He took the doll away, but surprisingly, he discovered that it was not a doll, but a little man. The man was wearing old-fashioned breeches or shorts and a hat as tall as a witch's. The little man cried for help and asked Patrick to save him. In return, the little man agreed to grant a wish for Patrick. Patrick saved the little man and was pleased to get that one wish. He asked the little man to complete all his homework by the semester's end. Although the little man did not like it, he agreed. While doing the homework, the little man or the elf would often ask Patrick for help. For instance, he asked Patrick to look up a word in the dictionary and spell it out loud. It was the same with math, or even worse. And so Patrick sat beside him to guide him at all times. He went to the library, got books, and read them to the elf. Patrick worked harder than ever before. He did not realize that he was doing all the hard work himself. Finally, on the last day of the semester, the elf left. The results came out and Patrick scored an A grade. The results left his classmates and teachers amazed. Even his parents wondered how he turned into such a model kid. In the end, Patrick still thought he'd made that tiny man do all of his homework. A long time ago, dogs lived in the forest just like wolves. They were nobody's servant but their own masters. However, one day, a dog realized that he did not like this constant life of struggle. He did not like looking for food all the time. Similarly, he was fed up with being scared of stronger animals. So, he decided to find a solution. He thought that becoming a servant to the strongest animal on earth would solve all of these problems. He decided to go in search of one such animal. On the way, he met a wolf who was as strong as he was fierce. The wolf asked him where he was going. He told the wolf that he was looking for someone he wanted to serve. He asked if the wolf would be interested in becoming his master. So the wolf agreed. It surprised the dog when the wolf hid behind a bush upon encountering or meeting a bear. The wolf told him that he was frightened because the bear could eat them both. Upon hearing this, the dog left him behind and became the bear's servant. Similarly, he found out that the bear was scared of the lion. So he left the bear to serve the lion. The lion became his master. This continued for a long time, and the dog was content or happy with his good life. He was now the servant of the strongest beast, and nobody dared to mess with the dog. However, one day, as they were walking side by side on a narrow path, the lion smelt the scent or smell of a human. He asked the dog to run away with him to protect themselves from the man. Finally, the dog realized that even the lion feared someone, a human. So he said farewell to the lion and went to the man. Ever since then, the dog has been serving humans and has been their loyal servant. The dog now knows no other master than a man. Taro was a young woodcutter who lived with his old parents on a lonely hillside. He did not earn a lot from his work. So it upset him not to be able to give his parents a better life. One day, his father wished to have a cup of sake. Sake was an expensive Japanese drink made from fermented rice, traditionally drunk warm in small porcelain cups. This upset Taro even more because they didn't have sake at home and he felt that he could not even afford a cup of sake for his father. The next day, he woke up and went into the forest. Taro started chopping up wood and kept doing it for a long time. Even though his mouth became very dry and he started feeling thirsty, he kept chopping up the wood non-stop. Suddenly, he heard the sound of water falling. He stopped his work, having never heard or seen rushing water in that area. Since he was thirsty, he ran in the direction of the sound. Upon reaching there, he discovered a small yet stunning waterfall. He started drinking the liquid only to realize it was not water but sake. Excited, he filled a pitcher with it and headed home quickly. On seeing a pitcher full of sake, his father got thrilled. He took one sip and he stopped shivering. After that, the old man started dancing to express his happiness. On the same day, a visitor from the village came to their house. They offered her a cup of sake and told her about the magical waterfall. Thus, the story started to spread all around the village. Everyone from the village visited Taro and the pitcher emptied in half an hour. The following day, all the villagers rushed to the magical waterfall, even before Taro. However, it tasted nothing like sake, but just simple cold water. This angered them, and they all wished to drown Taro for spreading lies and cheating them. Taro hid in the forest to escape the wrath of the villagers. When they left, he went to taste the liquid again, which tasted like fine sake. Thus, it became clear that the magical waterfall offered sake only to Taro. That is why others only tasted water. God wanted Taro to have the privilege of being a thoughtful son. The emperor also learned about Taro and he rewarded Taro with 20 pieces of gold for being good and kind. Further, he also named the most beautiful fountain in the city after Taro to encourage all children to honor and always be obedient towards their parents. This chapter is about the life of Kalpana Chawla. It takes us through her struggles and achievements. Kalpana Chawla was born in Karnal, Haryana. Growing up, never in her wildest dreams did she think she would cross the frontiers of space. After a Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering, against great opposition from her father, she went for a master's degree in the United States of America. She later earned her PhD in Aerospace Engineering. Soon, Kalpana qualified as a pilot and later a flight instructor. While Kalpana was born in Karnal, Haryana, she was a naturalized US citizen, married to flight instructor Jean-Pierre Harrison. After qualifying as a pilot, Kalpana began to consider another challenge. She decided to apply to NASA for a space shuttle program. At first, she got hired as a research scientist. In 1994, NASA selected Kalpana Chawla and trained her to be an astronaut. Thus, she went on to become the first Indian-American female astronaut. Her first space mission lasted for 15 days, 16 hours and 34 minutes. During this time, she went around the Earth 252 times, traveling 10.45 million kilometers. Along with the help of her team members, she performed different experiments in space. Sadly, the news of the Columbia disaster broke out and left everyone in shock and disbelief. The town of Karnal spent a sleepless night as thousands of households prayed that Kalpana and the crew had somehow survived. But they passed away. However, her legacy remains. A journalist even called her a heroine. As per the reporter, an astronaut must be knowledgeable in everything from biology to astrophysics to aeronautical engineering. In other words, an astronaut has encyclopedic knowledge, and Kalpana Chawla's achievements are awe-inspiring. Kalpana Chawla was a girl from a small town who touched the skies. She is an inspiration for generations to come. In a message that she sent from aboard the space shuttle, she said to the students of a college in Chandigarh, "The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it. Wishing you a great journey." This chapter is a story of a school that aimed to teach children how to sympathize with others and be helpful. The writer had heard a lot about Miss Beam's school. One day, he decided to visit the school. Upon reaching there, he saw a girl with bandage-covered eyes being led cautiously by a little boy between the flower beds. Then he met Miss Beam, who explained her teaching methods. She told him that her main aim in the school was to help children become kinder and more thoughtful. He looked out a window, and it pained his heart to see a field full of happy children who were not healthy. Two girls had a bandage on their eyes, while one was watching the others play as she was on crutches. However, to his surprise, Miss Beam told him that the girl with the crutches was not lame. Similarly, the one with the bandaged eyes did not have trouble with her eyes. To help her children appreciate and understand the less fortunate, the school made them share their misfortune. So, they were made lame, or their eyes were covered so they could realize the true essence of the misfortune. It also taught the other children to help them out. Thus, each term, every child had one blind, one lame, one injured, one dumb, and one deaf day. Everyone participated with enthusiasm. Miss Beam asked the author to spend some time with the girl who had bandages on her eyes. The author found out that the girl appreciated the help from the other children. Thus, it made her understand the hardships of being blind, but also how she must help others when she gets the chance. The girl told the author how being blind for a day was the hardest thing to do of all other challenges. Movement became difficult, and they always had to worry about getting hurt. They kept dodging things that were not even there. Then the writer went for a short walk with the girl and described what he was seeing. After that, he realized that he had become 10 times more thoughtful in such a short period of time. Moreover, he realized that describing things to people was quite interesting. Finally, it was time to leave, but the author was learning so much that he did not want to go. To this, Miss Beam said, "Then there's something in my system after all." Fair Play is a story by Premchand about two best friends, Jumman Sheikh and Algu Chaudhary. Their loyalty and friendship were famous throughout the village, so much so that if one of them went out of town, the other would take care of their family. So everyone in the village respected them a lot for this. Jumman had an old aunt who transferred her property to Jumman. Her only condition was that he must care for her for the rest of her life. Jumman agreed, but after some years his behavior changed. He did not treat her well, and neither did his wife. They did not even like giving her little food for survival. They also did not treat her with respect. When things got very bad for the aunt, she asked Jumman to give her some money every month so she could set up her own kitchen. However, Jumman did not even listen to this and insulted her. She discussed her issue with many villagers, each of them offering different advice to her. She also spoke to Algu, who reminded her that he cannot say anything against his best friend. With no other option left, she took the matter to the panchayat. As the head of the hearing, Jumman's aunt chose Algu to be the head punch for her case. This made Jumman very happy as he thought his friend would definitely take his side. As Algu became the head punch, he decided to speak the truth without favoring his best friend. So the judgment was given in the aunt's favor. This made Jumman very angry, who agreed to give her the fixed monthly amount as per the judgment. Nonetheless, Jumman did not take it well and started hating Algu. Within a few days, Algu found himself in a challenging situation. One of Algu's pair of bullocks died, so he sold his other bullock to a villager called Samju Sahu. Sahu agreed to pay the money within a month, but the sold bullock died before the expiry of the payment period. Thus, Sahu declined to pay the money to Algu. Now Algu went to the panchayat to get justice. However, Samju Sahu appointed Jumman as the head punch, as he knew that Jumman was now Algu's enemy. But when Jumman sat at the position of the head punch, he realized the gravity or importance of the responsibility. He understood how his position could be used to have his revenge, but also that he should keep personal feelings aside. Even though Algu feared losing the case, Jumman spoke the truth and stood on the side of justice. Thus, the judgment was passed in favor of Algu. Sahu had to pay the money to Algu. The feeling of getting justice was overwhelming for Algu. He said, "Victory to the panchayat. This is justice. God lives in the voice of the punch." Jumman recognized that a punch has no friend nor enemy and that truth and justice are more important than everything else. They decided to hug and forget the misunderstandings between them. The writer lived with his grandfather in Dehradun. On the grounds of the house was a grand old banyan tree that he felt belonged to him. He enjoyed sitting in that tree. From there, he used to spy on the world below. He says that the tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as Dehradun itself. His first friend was a small grey squirrel who only became friendly once it was sure that the boy did not have an air gun. Later, he started to bring the squirrel pieces of cake and biscuit, and the squirrel was soon taking morsels from his hand. All kinds of birds flocked to its branches in spring. The red-bottomed bulbul, the cheerful and greedy parrots, myna and crows squabbling with one another, and the tree became the noisiest place in the garden. He had even built a crude platform on the tree where he spent the afternoons when it was not too hot. Sitting there, he had read many books like Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, and the stories of Dr. Dolittle. Thus, the banyan tree served as a great spot for reading. And he looked at the world below when he did not feel like reading. On one such afternoon, he saw the classic fight between a mongoose and a cobra. It was a very hot afternoon. The writer saw a big black cobra coming out of a clump of cactus. At the same time, a mongoose emerged from the bushes and went straight for the cobra. In a clearing beneath the banyan tree, they stood face to face. The cobra knew only too well that the grey mongoose, 3 feet long, was a superb fighter, clever and aggressive. But the cobra, too, was a skillful and experienced fighter. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light, and the sacs behind his long, sharp fangs were full of deadly poison. The writer knew that it was going to be a glorious fight. The cobra raised himself off the ground and spread his broad hood. While the mongoose bushed his tail, besides the writer, a myna and a crow were also looking at the battle. Mongoose made a pretended move to one side. The mongoose and the cobra engaged in a fierce battle, with the cobra trying to strike at the mongoose with its deadly venomous fangs, while the mongoose evaded or escaped the attacks and bit the cobra's back. The crow and myna, unable to help much, resorted to insulting each other and returned to the safety of a nearby cactus plant. The battle continued for some time, with the mongoose skillfully dodging the cobra's strikes and repeatedly biting it on the back until the cobra lay still. A few drops of blood glistened or shined on the cobra's back, showing the mongoose's skills. There were many such rounds, and the mongoose was always the winner. In the third round of the fight, the crow and the myna again tried to join in, but they missed each other and the cobra. The crow was too late to turn back, and the cobra struck it so hard that it flew far away and didn't move anymore. The myna stayed on the cactus and watched as the mongoose kept fighting the cobra. Even though the cobra twisted and lashed, the mongoose held on until the snake stopped struggling. Then the mongoose dragged the cobra away into the bushes. The myna hopped down and looked from far away, then flew away. The mongoose won the fight by being fast, brave, and strong. And that brings us to the end of all our summaries. All the very best to you.